His voice cracked first, not mine. Effective immediately, he said, sliding the termination letter across his glass desk like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. 12 years of optimizing his airline's network. 12 years of shaving minutes from impossible turnarounds. 12 years of fixing the messes his own bloodline created. He didn't look at me when he said it. People rarely look at the knife they're twisting. My son does ops now. 18. Entitled. More interested in crypto charts and protein shakes than aviation law. I felt the weight of my badge in my palm. Cold. Flat. Familiar. I placed it on the table with the precision of a surgeon laying down a scalpel. "You have 20 minutes," I said quietly, "before the first planes are grounded." He finally looked up. Confusion. Then something close to fear. Good. The hum of the terminal ventilation filled the silence between us. I watched it seep into him, slow and suffocating. "Don't bluff," he whispered. "I don't bluff," I answered. And I didn't. Not today. Not after last night's message. Not after the misplaced phone, the whispered apology that wasn't meant for me. Something inside me snapped hours before he called me in. This firing wasn't the shock, just the confirmation. He thought he owned me. He thought family was leverage. He didn't understand that I'd already done the math, already mapped every exit, already accepted the truth he still didn't know he carried. I turned toward the door, and the real story began. It started with her voice, soft, trembling, leaking through the bathroom vent at 1:14 a.m. I can't keep lying to him. I feel sick. I froze halfway down the hall. My wife rarely spoke in whispers. She was a creature of polished confidence, high heels, and curated affection. But this voice, this was raw, unfiltered, meant for someone who wasn't me. Silence. Then a man's laugh. Low, familiar. "I told you he won't find out," the voice said. "He's too buried in those damn flight routes. Too loyal." My chest tightened. Not with panic, with clarity. My father-in-law. Her father. No, not her father. Her boss at the real estate law firm. The man who hired her before we were even married. The man who called her indispensable. I stepped back, letting the wall steady me. Cold tile. Cold truth. My mind raced, not to conclusions, but to patterns. The sudden late closings, her switched passwords, the unexpected real estate licenses she never explained, the way her father-in-law always praised her business intuition with a smile too paternal to be professional, yet too professional to paternal. The line blurred. It always does before it snaps. I swallowed the rising heat. Not anger, recognition. I went to the living room and sat in the dark. I didn't confront. I didn't break. I observed. Because betrayal is loud. But truth? Truth whispers first. Her footsteps approached minutes later. A soft kiss on my head, tentative, like she was checking for cracks. "You're awake?" she asked. Couldn't sleep. She hesitated. Just a fraction. Enough. The lie hovered in the air between us, waiting to be named. I didn't name it. Not yet. The morning routine was normal. Forced normal. Her perfume lingered longer than usual. Guilt does that. Clings. She left early for a meeting. I left 10 minutes later. Not to the airline headquarters. Not yet. I drove to the law firm instead. From across the street, the windows glowed like a grid of secrets. I watched her silhouette in her office, back turned, head tilted down, phone to her ear. Same posture as the night before. I noted the time, the angle, the details others overlook. Then I moved. A quiet investigator in my own life. DNA labs open early. Real estate filings don't lie, nor do stock transfer logs in law firm partnerships. I requested paternity reports. Not for a child, there wasn't one. For her, because something in the way they interacted had always felt misaligned. like a story rehearsed too many times. When the analyst asked for the samples, I provided them without explanation. Next, phone records. Publicly, I was still the loyal operations architect of a multi-billion-dollar airline. Privately, I was mapping timelines, her calls, his calls, overlapping schedules, gaps that tasted like truths no one dared say aloud. At work, I behaved normally, reviewed aircraft rotations, adjusted for weather disruptions. Inside, everything sharpened. Every action became preparation. By noon, my father-in-law had called twice. I didn't answer. By 3, a senior attorney from her firm emailed me, "Your wife requested you review." Odd. She had never involved me in her legal work. The folder was empty. Empty things speak. By 6, she texted me, "Running late, don't wait up. Love you." Love you. The projection of affection, not affection itself. I stared at the screen. The words didn't hurt. They confirmed. Night fell. The evidence lined up. The narrative tightened. I slept easily for the first time in months. Truth, once uncovered, becomes a weapon you only need to hold. The results arrived 2 days later. Envelope, unmarked, heavy. I opened it with steady hands. Her father wasn't her father. Not biologically, not legally in the earliest filings. He had amended guardianship when she was 9. No mention of the real father. I stared at the genetic markers, the percentages whispering what they really meant. Their relationship wasn't paternal. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't new. I drove straight to his office. He was alone. Good. I placed the report on his desk. He scanned it, and the color drained from his face, slowly, like a tide pulling away from shore. You don't understand," he stammered. I didn't speak. Silence is harder to confront than accusations. He reached for excuses. I watched them die in his throat. His phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. I let him see my eyes when he looked back up. He knew. He knew what I knew. He knew I knew everything. And that I was calm. Nothing terrifies a guilty man more. That's when he fired me. Not for incompetence, not for downsizing, for knowing. For seeing the truth they'd buried under years of calculated lies. "Effective immediately," he repeated, voice cracking. I handed him my badge, but I also handed him the weight he had avoided carrying for 12 years. "You have 20 minutes," I told him, "before the first planes are grounded." His jaw clenched. "What did you do?" "Nothing illegal," I said. "Just removed the contingency routes I designed, the ones your son doesn't know exist." He stood so quickly his chair slammed against the wall. You can't do this." "I already did." He reached for his phone. I watched him struggle to breathe. He knew what grounded flights meant. FAA fines, investor rage, stock collapse, legal exposure. Everything he pretended to control. Everything she believed he could protect. Gone. And I didn't raise my voice once. He looked at me like a drowning man looking at the last dry surface in the world. "Please," he whispered, the same way she whispered the night I heard her betrayal through the vent. I stepped back. "I'm done cleaning up your messes," I said, and I left him in that collapsing office, the truth suffocating him harder than any accusation could. My wife called 6 times. I answered none. On the 7th, I simply texted her a picture of the report. No words, no explanation. She sent back a single line. "Can we talk?" I stared at the screen. I had talked enough, explained enough, believed enough. I drove past the airport. Planes stalled on the tarmac, investors shouting into phones, operations scrambling without the man they thought was disposable. They fired the architect and expected the building to stand. Not my problem anymore. By midnight, I was gone. Not running, just finished. Not angry, just awake. People think betrayal shatters you, but it doesn't. It reveals the pieces that were never yours to begin with. And once you see them clearly, you never let anyone close enough to break you again. I turned off my phone, and the world finally went quiet.